So the main road going to the property, the only road going to the property, is closed for the next month at least, which means the only way to get here by road is to leave and arrive extremely early. Otherwise you have to hike about 45 minutes to get here. But after working late last night, it feels a little too early to start the work. But it's good to just kind of sit and look off at the view. There's a spot here where you can see off into the distance, see the church and the view, hear the church bells, but also be surrounded by the forest and hear the birds.
So I just dropped off the girls at school and now I am on my way hiking to the stone house because the road is closed. It's actually quite a lovely hike and I'm really enjoying it. I think even after the road opens up, I might continue to hike this way because it's great exercise and it's really, really peaceful to come out this way, spend some time out in nature walking. I think it's just really good for the soul. I love walking through these old little villages. It's really cool to get some inspiration for our house, and seeing all of these old buildings is just really, really beautiful. Stella! So on my way to the stone house, I pass where Stella, our old donkey, is now living, and today she's having too much fun playing with her donkey friends to come say hi, but I think she's really, really happy in her new home. Oh my goodness! Well, you've been busy in here.
A bit deeper than.
Holy moly! Oh my goodness! Good job.
Thank you.
You don't need me anymore, do you?
No, I need the reinforcements. I am a little nervous about some of these walls. Some of them will need a little bit of work done to them. That back wall, perfectly safe. I'm assuming this back wall is perfectly safe, but the two main spots I'm worried about is this one here. It's not a load-bearing wall, so I haven't dug deep enough, but so far it doesn't seem like they sent the walls very deep, so we might have to do, probably we'll have to do some underpinning there, so I'm taking it slow there.
Okay.
And then I think there's a greater than 50% chance that we needed to underpin the fireplace, which is
scary.
Yeah, that I find that to be scarier than the walls. So the problem over here is that, so this was the floor height right about here, which is where I want the floor to be. Again, back to where it was. But I don't expect that they sent this support down very far. And there's not a lot of, see with the walls you have that Jenga effect, everything's stacked on top of each other, and you can safely dig out a very large section and just have it floating over the ground very safely. But this, you don't exactly have that.
Is this all one or two large stones
I think
together?
I think it's two large stones. So what I'm going to do is just in a very small like sliver, like one shovel wide, dig down, and if it's empty, then we'll just underpin in that. Basically, so you'll have a column of cement supporting one section, and then we'll move over about a meter or half a meter and do another column of cement.
Okay.
And then as we dig out, eventually it'll be essentially a floating fireplace floating above the floor. But
wow.
That's if we don't find any support. The ideal situation is that they put support down half a meter. This is the finished depth.
Oh, really?
Yep.
This looks like it was the easiest room.
It was by far.
I should have helped with this one.
It was so much easier than the other, like by a mile. It was so much easier. Significantly less rock to get through.
That's great. There's just something about all of the floor being dug out that really just makes this feel like real.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Like we're moving
Yesterday
forward.
as I was digging, pulling wheelbarrows out, like I was so excited. I was like, we're doing it. We're actually going to get it done. And yeah.
I think this is the most real that it's felt since we've taken possession of the property. It's going to start coming together.
Once the digging's finished, it's going to start moving really fast, I think.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm extremely grateful for the lack of stones in this room, which is a huge contrast to the first room that we dug out. So far in all of this space, this is the entirety of the stone that I had to dig out, and no jackhammering aside from the spade required. There is a small border of slate from the mountain that's part of the foundation that we'll have to carefully chisel away so that we can pour that concrete footer that is required, unfortunately, but that won't be too hard. It is nice finding stone like this. It's very, very usable, especially with the straight edges like this. So every time we find something usable, we save it, and then I have many, many projects planned in the future.
So this is kind of an experiment that we're doing. We don't want to just use good soil because, let's face it, it's very expensive. And eventually we want to have our own compost that we can use, but for now we don't. So we have some of the like really kind of rocky clay based soil dirt that we have in the bottom of these boxes. And then we're putting the good healthy soil on top. So I'm hoping that will work, but it's kind of an experiment. So we'll see. So this box here in the front is kind of half and half. It's the clay underneath and then the good soil on top. And the other planter box is just the good soil. So we're gonna see, you know, does it really matter? Does it affect the way the garlic is growing? We'll see.
So the goal here is to get down about 55, 60 centimeters in order to put a crawl space. It's not really a crawl space, it's called a vespaya in Italian. And we're going to place these plastic dome-shaped igloos, which will allow airflow to flow underneath the floor, and then you pour concrete over top of that. So what you end up with is essentially a floating floor where any moisture that runs underneath the ground or comes up from below the ground is fine. It can stay down there and it will air out. There'll actually be ventilation coming from one side of the house going to the other and drying out the crawl space. And then we need to add roughly 100 to 130 millimeters of insulation and a bunch of other stuff. The reason I'm not giving actual specifics of every single layer is because I've gotten them wrong in the past and we still don't fully know. We're going back and forth with the different people involved, and different people have varying opinions, and some of those opinions I don't agree with. So we're still pushing back and forth trying to finalize the plan for the floor. But in my opinion, 55, 60 centimeters and most of the house should be perfect. But it looks like in the majority of the room, we are to that 55 to 60 centimeter depth, which means I just have the perimeter, which I've left intact just in case there's any underpinning. There's been some signs that this wall in particular here needs to be underpinned. But I think it's time to find out if the fireplace needs to be underpinned. I'd like to think that Heather would forgive me if I let anything happen to the fireplace, but I'm not entirely sure that's true. So we're taking things very slowly, making sure it's done properly to make sure it's, if needed, underpinned perfectly safely and properly. I was very young the first time I worked on an underpinning project. Growing up in Michigan, we had a house that was maybe 100 years old, and we wanted to add a basement underneath the existing crawl space. So as a family, we dug down and then underpinned the walls by quite a lot. I think that we underpinned by 5 to 6 feet, maybe 2 meters, something like that. But I was very young. I'll have to ask my mom how old I was. So much of the things that I've benefited in life come from working at a young age with my dad and my mom, and just having the determination that you can do it, you can figure it out yourself. And I think there's something special about doing construction as a family, which is why I've enjoyed working with the girls so much. They learn so much from it. So that is confirmed. This entire fireplace needs to be underpinned. It's just a very large rock, or 2 pieces of rock, that's set directly onto the clay, which makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't have expected them to build a foundation for it, but it sure would have been nice. So I will have to slowly finish excavating a pillar that goes back, I don't know, maybe 20 centimeters or so, and sticks out 20 centimeters, maybe a little less. Put some rebar in there, put a form up, pour the concrete, and then do another pillar over there before I can more aggressively excavate around it, and then finish underpinning at least a couple more spots, maybe the entire wall of concrete. But the nice thing about this is, I don't know if you've seen in our other videos, but this fireplace currently smokes terrible. And part of that's due to the fact that the chimney needs to get hot first before it'll draw properly. But the other part is it needs oxygen. So, and anyone who has an old fireplace will tell you, you have to like open a window to make sure it has enough oxygen to draw out. But that kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, you're letting in all of the cold air while you're trying to heat your home. So a smarter way, and something that we can take advantage of while we're digging this out, is we can actually run a metal pipe from the fire pit all the way outside, since all of this is going to be excavated anyways, and since we need to be running pipes and stuff outside, we can just run an air intake. We can't do an air intake to the Vespaya, the crawl space here, even though that would help dry this area out. It would just allow any potential mold that's growing underneath the floor to seep up into the room. So obviously we cannot do that. But we could run a pipe outside and draw in fresh air, and then the fire would burn so much better.
All right, girls, are you ready to see where we're learning about this month? This month in our little passport subscription box, the girls are learning about Spain, which is really fun. We've actually been to Barcelona once, so it's bringing back some really nice memories for us. In this box is included a book, a really cool mosaic that the girls are working on right now, and a specialty coin for their little coin collection, as well as some stickers for their suitcase and their map. The girls absolutely love Little Passports. We love it so much because it's really fun and educational for them. And if you would like to try out Little Passports for the next 3 days, we have an incredible offer that they've given us. If you put in the code RAISINGVoyagers50, you can actually get 50% off a 12-month subscription. So if you have been thinking about checking out Little Passports, now is the time to do it because I have never seen a deal this good, and it's only for the next 3 days. So if you use our code RAISINGVoyagers50, you can get 50% off a 12-month subscription.
All right, so we're now dealing with a 30 centimeter hole deep, about 25 centimeters wide, and about 75, 80-ish deep. It's about 30 centimeters or so deeper than the final depth that we are digging. Time to bring in some rebar and fill it up with concrete. I've scraped the top of the stone here, so it's just bare raw stone, so that it will adhere very nicely to the concrete that I'm about to pour. One of the first Italian words / phrases that I learned after moving here is piano piano, slowly slowly. It was taught to me by our neighbor Silvio, who I was hiking on the mountain with, and he kept telling me, piano piano, there's no reason to take it too fast. And that's kind of how everything is done here. Sometimes frustratingly so, piano piano, and other times intentionally so. But either way, there is nothing quick about building an old stone house like this. It has to be done very, very slowly. So everything I'm doing here is being done kind of over the top. I don't need to dig this hole as deep. I don't need to put in as much concrete, and I don't need to use as thick of rebar. But despite the fact that it's all a little bit overkill, I just prefer doing it overkill. I would rather just know that it is fully secure as I'm tearing it apart. And I think that's a big benefit of doing things yourself, is that you can take the extra time and sometimes spend a little bit extra money in the form of rebar and concrete in this situation, and just know for a fact that you've done it properly. You know what would be really interesting in this would be rosemary. You could. Yeah, we need to keep the herbs close.
It needs a little water too.
It smells so good.
I know.
I've actually never tried putting rosemary in the potatoes like this, but it should be delicious. Need more garlic.
I know. I think we should make have maybe potted herbs up here by the kitchen. Can I give it a little water?
I definitely went a little overkill on the amount of cement. This blue container was filled completely full, and then I had to mix up just a little bit extra. But I would definitely prefer in a situation like this to be on the side of overkill. Now I just need to make one more deep hole over there, underpin that, let these cure before underpinning the rest. So I'm having to dig quite a bit wider on this one because there was a small section of dirt that this was resting on, and then it immediately goes to the mountain. So I'm not going to be digging as deep. I'll go back 15 centimeters or so, and then I will drill and tie rebar into the mountain itself. But all of this rock protruding out away from the fireplace, I do need to chisel away so that it doesn't interfere with the flooring. It's a shame I'm wasting some very fine Italian olive oil on this, but otherwise these boards will stick to the concrete too much. Really should go buy some cheap stuff for this.